Zombieland Double Tap comes from Ruben Fleischer and stars all 4 of the main actors who also starred in the original Zombieland from 2009. Several years have passed since that first Zombieland film, as our 4 protagonists are still fighting against the zombie apocalypse, but one or more of them are in need of some changes in order to fill their voids. So the first Zombieland movie has become this cult classic film, which is pretty surprising considering the cast. Usually cult classics never have this A-list cast like Zombieland does, and a lot of people do enjoy that first movie. But in recent years, it has been deemed as a cult classic movie, and from my standpoint, I really enjoy the first Zombieland to this day. Not only did it have a great cast, but it also provided a funny script and a fun, fast-paced film. And like a lot of sequels, many people who were huge fans of the first Zombieland had expectations through the roof for Zombieland Double Tap, and for the most part, I kept my expectations lowered. I didn't want to get too hyped up because I did really enjoy the first movie, but I never expect sequels to be nearly as good. And in terms of how good this movie actually is and the quality, Zombieland Double Tap is by no means a bad sequel. This movie does have a lot of enjoyment, especially with the cast coming back for this film. In fact, that is this movie's greatest aspect. Just having that original cast come back and reprise their roles for Zombieland Double Tap is enough for me to say I had a good time watching this movie. Is it as good as the original? Definitely not. The original is a much better movie, but you can't deny the greatness of the cast, and having a cast this good with all of them actually giving great performances does elevate this movie beyond what it would be without having these cast members. Jesse Eisenberg coming back as Columbus, being the nerd who has a set of rules and is very awkward, in addition to Woody Harrelson reprising his role as Tallahassee, being the cowboy who is overly confident, and then you have the 2 sisters played by Abigail Breslin and Emma Stone, both of which were nominated for Oscars, and one of them were winners in 2016, which is pretty crazy. So having them here again is awesome to see. Having this much talent in a film that probably won't even make that much money is mind-blowing to me. This film did not even win the box office this past weekend. I don't even think it came in 2nd place. So it's really funny having such a talented cast in a smaller movie, in a movie that won't be looked at as one of 2019's blockbusters, at least on the scale of maybe Joker or It Chapter 2. So the cast, of course, is great once again, and I would say the first 20 minutes were my favorite in Zombieland Double Tap. They bring us back to the original movie, and it reminds us of how much fun and how good that movie really is. So the first 20 minutes were probably the most enjoyable for me, and they brought us back to that original Zombieland place where I had so much fun. It reminded me exactly what Zombieland was all about in 2009, and even the new characters this movie brings into the plot, I liked a lot of them. Granted, some of these characters were underutilized, but at least 2/3 of the new characters brought into this film I thought were good new additions and made the film better in that regard. But why is Double Tap not as good as the original Zombieland? Well, like I said, the cast is on par with the first. They all give great performances, once again, if not better performances than in the first movie, considering they're all older now and more experienced. But without this cast, this movie probably would have been a rotten score for most people. I will explain this by saying they do certain things and you're not sure where they're going to go with it, and then they completely erase that idea, and then they go back on that idea and bring it back into the film, and you question, what was the point of that? By the end of the film, I questioned their decision-making with this script and in terms of directing, because a lot of things that happened in this movie never needed to happen. They could have just stuck with their original ideas and kept through with it, but instead, some randomness takes place to the point where you don't quite get what they're trying to go for. And by having some of that randomness in the film where nothing always makes sense and you don't understand their decision making, A lot of this film does drag, particularly in the middle of the movie. It's not that enjoyable. The beginning is much better paced than the middle of this film. I would go as far as saying this movie dragged on so much to the point in the middle of this movie where I did not laugh for a total of 40 minutes straight or even more. I don't know how you do that, and it's kind of sad considering this is a comedy movie. It's supposed to be really funny. So in that regard, the first movie is much funnier and much better paced. Now, does that mean they did not try with the humor in this film? No, some of the jokes did land, but a lot of them didn't, and it felt like they weren't trying their best to be the funniest movie of the year. I just wish the script was as strong as the first films. It's not a bad script, but the script, had it been stronger, it could have at least made me not get bored in the middle of the film. But the positives do slightly outweigh the negatives in this film for myself, and that's mostly due to the cast, because when you have a cast this talented, of course it's going to make the movie a lot better, rather than if you casted people who weren't as good at acting compared to these people. I'm giving Zombieland Double Tap a 62%. Not the best sequel I've seen in recent memory. It does have some enjoyment, and it's pretty cool seeing this cast back together. Felt like I was getting a treatment of nostalgia, so I did have some fun. Alright, if any of you also saw Zombieland Double Tap, be sure to let me down below in the comment section what your thoughts are of it, or if you think it's on the same level as the original Zombieland from 2009. If you're new to my channel, click the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.